So it's been 9 months. Greetings and salutations. Today we're going to be programming 2.2. That's the video. Disclaimer, the efforts of this video were not meant to detriment the work of RobTop and his development of 2.2. The features programmed in this video were missing certain efforts of polish that can require a large amount of time to make right. So the features I'm going to be programming today are the Swingcopter, 4 triggers: the zoom trigger, the rotate trigger, the time warp trigger, and the scale trigger. As well, I'm going to be programming platformer mode, as well as the ice block and the force block. So, what I'm going to be using to make these 2.2 features is a game engine called Unity. And Unity is an open source free game engine. It's one of the better ones out there. Hopefully this information is somewhat factual, I'm saying, otherwise I'm going to get bullied in the comments section. So to start out, I'm gonna put the Swingcopter sprite and the level background sprite into a new Unity project. I as well made a flame for the Swingcopter, and it's not animated, it's just a single sprite that I made. So I have that all compiled in the Unity project. And now what we need to do is I just need to animate the flame of the Swingcopter. So that's pretty easy to do. Cool, so now we have a flame and it looks really good. Oh, and I also added some particle effects, which is pretty cool. They look nice-ish, I guess. Need some improvement, but still, it looks pretty good. Next thing we need to do is we need to give the Swingcopter gravity, because right now it's just kind of floating in the air, and that's not how the Swingcopter works. So, it's pretty simple, and you just add something called a rigid body, which basically can simulate gravity, force, all that stuff, which is great for what we're using, and we can fine-tune those adjustments later to make the gravity more like the actual thing. Alright, so you guys know how the Swingcopter works. You click and it'll go up, and you click and it'll go down. So we need to change that. Right now, if you look, I can change the gravity settings manually, but we need to automate that, so we're going to create a script for that, obviously. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. So now, as you can see, it works pretty much like it. You can click and it'll go up, you can click and it can go down, but obviously it still looks very flawed and very basic. So we're gonna add some rotation, we're gonna add actual flame effects for the top and bottom boosters to give it a more actual so it looks actually like the Swingcopter. And there we are. I changed the scale of the top and bottom boosters a bit down horizontally, so it looks more like the actual Swingcopter. I also added some forward movement, as you can see, and now it looks really close to what the actual thing looks like. And this took around like an hour to make, and it doesn't look that half bad, which is really cool. Of course, if this was actually going to jump, you'd actually need a lot more tweaking to make it work well with gameplay, but the functionality is about the same. It's just tweaking, but that can usually take a long time to make things perfect, and that's important to recognize. So next on my list was to make a time warp trigger. So that actually was very easy, because Unity makes it very easy for you to change the game time via script. So I set it up so you can manually change each trigger point to, like, you can manually change the warp, I guess you could call it, of each trigger very easily, so that's really fun. Next, I worked on making the graphics for the triggers, or well, the image that overlays them and what it looks like, what it would look like in the editor. And as you can see, I actually changed the time warp trigger because the thing I made before didn't actually fit the style of triggers in GD, so I changed it, and now it's much more simple, but it fits the style a lot better. Next up is to make the rotate trigger, and that's actually fairly easy. So we have a camera attached to the player, and it has a rotate value basically. So we can just access that camera and change its rotate value, and boom, there we have it, a rotate trigger. It's pretty easy actually. So next up, I'm just programming the zoom trigger. Basically the same thing, I just have to change some values around, but yeah. So as you can see here, I can change the zoom of the camera as well as the speed just right there, which is really fun, and that's what I like about Unity. And as you can see, it works. So next we need to work on the scale trigger, and this is also fairly simple. We just have to change some values around, just add a little bit here. So it's pretty simple. And now we have a scale trigger. This is how a scale trigger works. You can just scale it in the X direction or the Y direction. So you can see the first example, it scales it in both directions, but in the second example, it actually stretches it. So that's an example of how the scale trigger could work, and it looks pretty good, and it works pretty well in my opinion. Alright, so next we have to create platformer mode, and this is a little harder to do. It took me a bit longer to do, but what I have so far set up is I have the ground, and I have the ice block and the force block. So we need to actually make it so the character can go from left to right, jump, etc. So that's what I'm going to be working on next. So as you can see, I set up a simple jump, and the problem is it doesn't look like the jump in actual platform mode. There's like a little bounce that happens, so what I'm going to be trying to do is make that. Alright, so I think I have it working, so let's just try to jump here, and let's see what happens. And oh, so next I'm just actually trying to make the thing not broken, so that's what I'm working on. So it kind of works, it's just we need to improve on it a bit more, so that's what I'm going to be doing next. So here it is. I just tweaked a little bit of things, but it looks pretty good. I mean, it could be better, but it looks fine for now. We'll have to change it later. But you can see there's like little particle effects coming out when you jump too, which is a nice little touch, I think. Alright, so next we have to add movement. So I tried to add that, and here's what was the result of that. And yeah, that's kind of an issue. Yeah, I don't even know what's happening anymore. Yeah, it's just a mess. Yeah. So here's a little thing I had happen, and that's because I didn't lock the rotation of the player, and it looks cool, but it's not really how platformer mode is supposed to work. So we're gonna have to fix that, unfortunately, but it did look cool. And yeah, the movement is still broken, so I'm trying to fix that. Alright, so here's actually the platformer mode in action. So as you can see, we have a little trail that follows us whenever we walk. It should not be spawning in here, but it is for some reason, so that needs to be kind of fixed. But as you can see, I can move around pretty smoothly. I can jump just like that. It looks pretty good. One thing that's important here is in the actual platform mode, when you're moving in a direction, like if I'm moving left or right, when I jump, my character should like flip over, but I couldn't really get that to work well, so I was unfortunately not able to add it. So yeah, that just goes to show like how important those little details are in stuff and how long it can take to actually get them to work. And all the stuff I'm creating here is very like base level. It's not worked out, it's just very simple concepts. So obviously if I was actually developing this for a game, which I'm not because this is Geometry Dash, I'd be spending a lot more time getting everything working well, and that's probably one of the main reasons why 2.2 is taking so long. Is features take a while to add. It's not gonna happen where all this gets added in a day. There's a lot of tweaking and just a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out before it could be finalized. So now I made the force block, and I added a little trampoline effect, which I probably shouldn't have, so I'm fixing that. But as you can see, it kind of like forces the player along, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So next, you can see I add the ice block. So I have a force block pushing the player, then you can see the friction. There's like no friction at all with the ice block. Here's how it's gonna work in 2.2 probably. And as you can see, I re-added the rotation thingy because it looked cool. Anyways, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed. I spent a little longer on this video and hopefully that paid off. I don't really know. But if you want me to like do anything else with this kind of idea of creating 2.2 in Unity, just let me know. I can probably do something about it. I can make another video on this. That'd be kind of cool to do. A lot of work does go into these videos. I have to do the programming, the editing, all the voice lines, all of that, and hopefully the production quality is decently good. That's what I'm trying to aim for. A lot of work goes, so like probably 20 hours of video, and that's a lot of time. So just please consider subscribing. It would honestly make my day. It'd mean a lot. So yeah, anyways, yeah, well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.